Hi, I'm Kathy Paez. I'm here to share a class on lesser known Yin Yoga variations, Shoelace edition. So in this practice, we'll work with poses that fit within the archetype of shoelace. And so functionally speaking, this means any pose that places a beneficial stress on the gluteal myofascial group. And then as a side plus, you'll also feel something in your thoracolumbar fascia. So note that if at any point you have any knee pain, this is a sign that this is not a variation for you. Variations, important to keep in mind that they're not for everybody and they're not meant to be taught in every context as well. So in this case, if you do have any form of discomfort in any of the poses, take any shape of shoelace that is comfortable for you. Also note that none of these poses are meant to be achieved. They shouldn't become like star poses of your class. They are meant to be taught when needed if they help an individual change their relationship to the target area. So that's either find more stress in it or reduce the intensity of it. So they play with stable points and different ways in which you will find as well that you are looking to stress slightly through different positions and different stable points that gluteal group with a side of lower back or thoracolumbar fascia. So let's get started. You will need for this practice only a bolster. Of course, have any other props or tools that you use regularly. And we're starting with a supine shoelace pose. You might know this more as a figure 4. And I will invite you to use the bolster because this will allow you to just kind of also keep it more in that yin state. You won't need to use your arms to hold your legs up. So you'll have the bolster next to you, close to you, and you'll lay on your back. And just take a moment before we continue in that supine shoelace to really pause and release. And take a few deep breaths if needed. And then go ahead and bend your legs. So the feet on the ground to help you lift your hips up and place that bolster underneath your hips, underneath your sacrum. And then you're going to go ahead and cross that right ankle over the left thigh to then just bring that left leg up and towards you. And there's no effort here. So this prop is here to allow that bending forward to just happen, right? So now your legs are the active levers here. Note key position that you will see over and over again in all these poses, external rotation of the leg that is our target area. In this case, it is my right leg. You can shift and sway your hips from side to side. You can also move your head or roll your shoulders around. And as I mentioned before, for some people, the knee might start to tug in this position due to skeletal variation, due to range of motion that is available to your hips, to your femur, and that external rotation. So if that's the case, you want to back off. Maybe you don't need as much gravity. As I mentioned before, maybe your prop needs to be not as high as the bolster. So you can also use a blanket. You might need to tweak how high this elevation is for you, or if not, to use the bolster. And there's always a little bit of yang at the beginning of every yin pose. That's when you're finding your place in the pose. And eventually you can start to relax into it, settle into your bones. Settle into your breath. And prepare to come out of this side of the pose. So you can bring that left knee away from your chest and the torso, and then release that right leg that was in the external rotation. Just take a moment before you switch sides. Take a short rebound here. And get your left leg ready. So the left leg now as a target area goes into the external rotation. Then from here, you'll lift that right leg up to add weight to this forward fold, right? Supine in this case. And please note that we are not holding much more than 2 minutes for time's sake. But when working with lower body poses, you can hold for 4 minutes, depending on the person, possibly maybe even more. Depending on the person, possibly maybe less. So you don't need to wait for me to tell you when time is up as well. So you're taking those few moments in the beginning to maybe sway your hips and your legs, or move your shoulders, or move your head from side to side. And as soon as you feel like you're in the sweet spot, you feel just the right amount of stretch, or this other term we use in the functional approach is tension, and a positive beneficial tension. As soon as you feel that in the target area, which is that glute of that left leg, then you can remain and hold still while still understanding that there are no absolutes. You may at some point need to move a little bit or shift in some way. Making sure there are no unnecessary tensions while you're holding in the pose. Your jaw is relaxed, your face is relaxed. And coming out of the pose. So that right leg is the one that's really adding the weight here for the left leg to go into the forward fold, into the external rotation. So now you're bringing that lever away from your chest, releasing the left leg. And go ahead and remove the bolster and take a rebound in whatever shape you like. You may just lay on your back, you may lay on your side. Notice the release in the lower back is different to when our hips are the stable point. So when we're actually folding forward with the torso, right? We're still getting to that lower back in both ways, but this can feel slightly different. And very often in the rebound, you'll notice these nuances of depth and texture of how that pose was leaving its imprint. And we're shifting our stable point here. So you're going to, depending on where you are in that rebound pose, lay on one side, help yourself to come back up to a comfortable seat. And from here, you'll come into deer pose. So now in deer pose, we'll sit up and just lengthen your legs forward. Deer pose, we're bringing one leg into external rotation. So you're going to externally rotate one leg and then bring that other leg back. And simply because it's easier to follow, not because it's necessary, I am bringing my left leg into that external rotation. So my left leg, I'll bring that left ankle underneath that right knee, and then I'll bring that right leg back. How far back is up to you. Do take note that if you go really far back, you're going into a swan pose. This is also a family of the shoelace, but I'm keeping it at deer today, right? Since this is a pose that you may not know yet. So alignment isn't necessary, but sometimes alignment helps us to find the target area. So depending on the person, you can have this heel further back. It doesn't have to be this 90-degree. If you have a lot of external rotation, that is the case, for example, in my body, then I do need to find more of this shape, right? To then be able to forward fold and go into the target area of that glute. So deer pose, left leg, front, right leg, however far back as you want it to be. If you want to do more of the swan, that's perfectly fine. And then fold forward. And where is the yang at the beginning of this pose? You can play with your torso. You can walk one side to the other and feel the shift in sensation in that glute and in the lower back. Go ahead and just allow yourself, once you find that sweet spot, allow yourself to settle into the pose. Settle into your bones, into your breath. Noticing how shapes change throughout the seasons of our life, which poses feel right and which ones maybe start to look different or feel different. There is always that element of change, right? Even as we hold the pose as well, we're experiencing that the pose itself in the whole time also shifts. Go ahead and come out of the pose, lift your spine up. Before you switch sides, take a short rebound here. So bend, bring both legs in front of you. You can either just recline back into your hands, or you can wiggle your toes and move your ankles and move your knees. It's perfectly okay as well to do a slightly yang rebound. And let's shift sides. So now the right leg will be the target area. So I'm going to bend that right leg, bring that ankle slightly underneath that left knee, simply not because it's the best alignment, but because this helps me find the external rotation of that right femur. And then that left leg comes back, right? So in deer pose, as I mentioned, there are different places that leg can be back, right? Once it's all the way back, you could technically say, well, then we're in swan pose family, but good news, they are all part of the shoelace family. So then from here as well, fold forward and just take a moment to explore. Where should your spine be? I don't know. It depends on your body, depends on your external rotation, where you're going to find that spot in which you can release in the pose, feel the target area, not feel too much compression. I mentioned the knee quite a bit, but in this pose, for example, some people may feel a pinching here in their hip, and that could have even happened as well in the supine shoelace. And so that's where you need to kind of really see what needs to be done, right? Maybe that heel needs to be further back. Maybe you don't need to fold as forward as you would like. And also take note that the two can happen at the same time, tension and compression. And that's okay. Compression is not evil. Sometimes it can keep us from folding forward, but sometimes you can feel both at the same time and still be at a pretty good stance in the pose. We are always in yin, allowing time to really do the work. So don't go into your complete edge. It's also another important aspect. And I'm not guiding your breath to be in any specific way. This does not mean you can't work with your breath if you want. You can exhale through your mouth when and if needed. And coming out of the pose, morphing into your rebound pose. You can be again just leaning back into your arms or laying all the way back onto the earth or into a to the side or even on your belly. And prepare to come back up onto a comfortable seat. So the next pose is what I call a reclined shoelace, but you're not all the way back. You'll see what I mean now. For some people, if the external rotation is very limited, this might not be the right pose, right? And notice that when I work with what most of us, because we're very obsessed with shapes, right? You think of shoelace, and most people think of like a gomukhasana, right? So this is the initial shape. But just shoelace has so many different variations we can play with, right? So the one I'm going to propose, simply because it works best for my body, but you can work with any of these versions, is to work with this loose shoelace, right? So that means that it's going to be more of like a knee, ankle, ankle, knee form. Now, if, again, I'll say, if this is impossible, external rotation limited, you may want to bring that ankle in front, do it untied shoelace, also a good variation here. But the bolster is going to add a slight element of how I'm working with the stable point, because what I'm going to do with this bolster is I'm actually going to do the pose over the bolster and keep my hips on the ground. So it's actually going to start the forward bend for me. And this is where, if when you do this you feel like you're laying all the way back, then just lay on your back, and you can do that supine version we did at the first part of the class. But if you want to try and aim for this, see what happens, you will get the bolster. Notice I'm sort of prepared for this already. Remember, external rotation is the movement we're looking for. And then I would go ahead, and it depends on how well you know this pose. You might not need to kind of bring your legs over and then start from there, but I'm going to teach it like this. It's slightly easier for everyone to grasp. So I have my knees over the bolster, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring that right ankle underneath that left knee, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring that left foot on top of the bolster. And so notice I'm already I'm already folding forward, right? This is changing my relationship to gravity and to the earth. You can put this foot here if this is available, up to you, and then you simply fold forward and release the weight of your head. You can be slightly over here. You can be more over to the left or right. This is up to you. Play again with that, with how your torso is folding forward. And just be really honest with yourself about how the knees are doing. Again, there's no grasping, there's no achieving of this pose. This simply may work for some people, may not work for others. Another thing to add here is, with the world of variations and lesser known variations, you do not need to always teach them in a grouped format. They're usually best taught when you have a conversation with your student about the pose that they are trying and give them an option, right? So this is where the variations really come into play. This is where you can see more if it's effective or not very effective variation, because not every pose is meant for every body. And you can come out of the pose, unwind your spine, and release first the top leg and then the bottom leg. So I'm taking my rebound, just leaning into my arms and hands because this is a short rebound in between sides. I could even choose to go directly into the other side. And we will take a moment to pause and to feel and prepare the other side. So this time, the right leg will be the target area. So I'm going to bring that left ankle underneath that right knee, and then I'm going to bring that right leg right either in front or on top of that left knee, right? And then from here, noticing you're already in the forward fold. You know, I fold forward, but for some people, maybe they need to lean back here. Maybe they need a wall behind them to just kind of hold in this position. Maybe from there, they just want to move one arm. So again, don't limit yourself with the shape and start to think in movement, in biomechanics, right? And the possibilities that the joints in your body have to move freely. And then we base ourselves on feeling. Am I feeling that sensation in the glute? Maybe slightly of a stretch in the lower back. It feels right. I can maybe shift my weight from side to side. See if that makes it more, precise for the target area, or if that brings away any extreme form of compression, right? So that's where you're making all these choices, intuitively sensing into your body, knowing that you have tension, you have compression, and using this term tension in a functional approach as a stretch, as a good stress for the tissues in your body. And so you guide yourself from how much tension, how much compression feels right for you. And always tuning into any point of unnecessary tension, either in your jaw, in your face. How you can melt your body around any resistance. And you can shift out of this shape. Start with the leg that's on top, bringing it forward, then the leg that was at the bottom. Remove the bolster. Be intuitive with your rebound shape. Don't overthink it. Either just lay onto your side or lay onto your back. Notice we're not doing really long holds, so you can also notice that your body, the rebound is not, there's not that desire to linger as long as when you do a full 4-minute hold or 5 or 6 minute hold. And our final pose for the class, you're going to come onto your hands and knees. So this variation it's working with the external rotation of the femur And we're bringing a little bit of an upper body element. So, what I often call like a wings element. And we're playing with heart pose. Heart pose with that external rotation in one leg. So we will still do it. We're going to keep the upper body symmetrical. It means both sides are going to do the same thing, even though there is a version of like half heart pose. And we're going to work with the lower body. And you'll see that you'll feel a slightly different relationship to the gluteal group as well here. So on our hands and knees, let's start with that left leg. Bring that left right about the ankle, a little bit further up. Again, this is not precise. You can close out a little bit more. You can open it a little bit more as well, that abduction or adduction of the femurs. And then from here, start to bring your forehead onto the ground. And just feel into the, it's not going to be as intense as the other poses because the forward fold has its limit here, right? Due to the shape of what's happening in the upper body. But it's an interesting thing here to also notice that you can play again with, what the torso is doing. What happens if I lean more to one side? Can then I feel a little bit more in that target area? Also, interestingly, for those of you that love energetics, if that left leg is the target area here and you're leaning towards the right, lengthening and stressing along the line of the gallbladder meridian, right? A kind of a full length there from the glute to the obliques. You can, of course, use a bolster underneath your chest if you needed that. Separate your hands as much as you need to. And I said before about let's keep the upper back symmetrical, but as I shifted with my torso to the right, my right hand just kind of bent in, and that's okay. That's okay. That'll add a little bit more of that emphasis to the what's happening in the upper body, that left side. And start to push into your elbows and lift away from the ground. Come back to center with your arms. And let's release that left leg for a moment. So you can take your rebound here either in child's pose or you can sit onto your heels in Seiza. And let's prepare the right side. So I'm holding this pose even less than 2 minutes. I'm just kind of allowing us to have a feel for the pose. Also, because upper body is kind of, without being able to really fully read a room, it's a little bit tricky, upper body yin. So I keep it very simple on an online format. Let's go ahead and bring that right leg again about the ankle over the knee. Just find that external rotation of that right leg. Bring those femurs as close together, far apart as feels comfortable for you. And then go ahead and bring your forehead onto the ground. Maybe that's enough for you, right? Maybe you just want to have your elbows on the ground too. And this is where the bolster would come in because it would just hold your chest. If you like, walk over to the left. And again, just be intuitive with what your arms want to express here. Maybe somebody wants to walk over to the right. That's also perfectly okay. And shift in the shape that feels right. That is getting into the target area. And if there's compression, make sure that the compression feels just like the right amount of stress for those tissues as well, because compression also has its benefits. If it's a limiting compression, then we definitely need to explore a little bit more the world of variations in that same shape or in that same archetype. And then allow yourself push into your hands. Come back to center with your arms. Release that right leg and morph into your rebound. Lay on your back, you can lay on your belly, you can lay on your side. You can also choose to just be in a comfortable seat. And just taking in the poses that we worked from the shoelace archetype. Shavasana, if you start to come into that shape of just laying on your back and allowing your arms to lay alongside or over your head, just Shavasana in itself is a good counterpose to the forward bends we did. We're just going to allow Shavasana to be our final pose. Making sure to release the weight of your body. And relax your mind into your breath. Of course, as well, I mentioned Shavasana, but you can also take this final relaxation in any shape that you like. And start to come back into your breath, into the pose. And from whatever shape you're in, start to come back into a comfortable seat. Whatever position feels best for your legs, cross-legged, or maybe you're on your heels again, or maybe you have your legs straight in front of you. All this is fine. Thank you for taking the time to practice with me today.